Start your 1% journey toward deeper connection, trust, and emotional growth. One intentional moment at a time.
All right, let's get into it. Today we're talking about something a little unconventional. We're going to see how a philosophy from a factory floor, of all places, can actually give us a powerful new way to improve our most important personal relationships. You've probably asked yourself this, right? It could be with a partner, a family member, a friend. You hit these points of friction and just feel completely stuck. You try to fix things, but it feels like you're just spinning your wheels, not really getting anywhere. Well, here's the thing. The real issue usually isn't about who's right or who's wrong in an argument. It's almost always about something a bit deeper that we call an emotional disconnect. This is exactly when the wires get crossed. You know, we react to something, but we're not even sure why. Or we think we know exactly how the other person feels, but we're way off. Or we just keep it all inside. That gap, that disconnect, is where so many misunderstandings and hurt feelings come from. And you want to know what's wild? The biggest things stopping us from fixing this are usually inside our own heads. We're scared of being blamed or terrified we'll just make a bad situation worse, so we say nothing. We give these watered-down versions of how we feel, or we just avoid the tough conversation entirely. And so we never get to the heart of the matter. So what's the solution? Well, believe it or not, the answer comes from a place you would never, ever expect: a car factory. I know, it sounds kind of weird, but stick with me. Toyota's world-famous system for improvement actually gives us an amazing blueprint for how we connect with each other. And no, it's not about being robotic. It's about being thoughtful and intentional. The whole idea is wrapped up in this one word: Kaizen. It's a Japanese philosophy that's all about continuous improvement. But here's the key. It's not about huge, scary changes. It's about making tiny, small, manageable steps consistently over time. And looking at this comparison really says it all. We tend to think we need some big, revolutionary change to fix our problems. That's a sprint, it's exhausting, it's high risk, and frankly, it often fails. Kaizen, though, that's a marathon. It's about making changes so small they feel almost easy, which is brilliant because it lowers the fear and slowly builds this incredible momentum. Okay, so that's the big idea. But how do we actually translate this from building cars to building connections? Well, there's a really simple 3-part framework we can use. It's a pretty logical flow, right? First, you diagnose what the real problem is. You find that emotional gap. Then you develop a plan and act on it with small, specific steps. And then, this is the part everyone forgets, you check to see if it's working, and you standardize it. You make the good stuff a habit. All right, let's open up the toolkit and look at a few powerful tools you can start using right away, especially for that first phase, diagnosing the problem. I mean, this sounds impossible, doesn't it? Feelings and relationships are so messy and subjective. But what if you could track their vital signs? Kind of like a doctor tracks a patient's health. This is where something called emotional key process indicators, or KPIs, come in. It sounds corporate, but it's super helpful. Instead of just saying, things feel off, you can actually track specifics. Like, how often are we actually having a good time together? When we argue, do we ever really solve it? All of a sudden, that vague feeling becomes concrete. You actually have data to work with. So once you have that data, you have to figure out why. It's not enough to know you're arguing more. You have to get to the root cause of why you're arguing. And this is where the 5 whys tool is just, wow, so powerful. You start with a simple problem, like we always argue about chores, and you just keep asking why. Why does that bother me? Because I feel like I'm doing everything. Why does that bother me? Because I feel unappreciated. And you keep digging. And by the 5th why, you're not even talking about chores anymore. You're talking about a deep fear that resentment is going to destroy the relationship. See? The problem isn't the dishes. It's the need to feel respected and the fear of disconnection. Now, when you finally find that root cause, you can make a plan. But you have to remember this formula. The actual impact of your plan equals the quality of the plan times the acceptance of the plan. A technically perfect plan that nobody actually buys into, it's literally worthless. But a pretty good plan that everyone is committed to, that can change everything. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial piece of the puzzle, making sure all these positive changes actually last. So the goal here is something called standardization. And I know that word sounds so rigid, but it's actually about creating freedom. It means you practice the new, healthier behaviors so often that they become automatic. You're literally building emotional muscle memory, so the good choice becomes the easy default choice. So what does that look like in real life? Well, you could create a sort of relationship operating manual, just some shared ground rules for how you'll handle things. Or you could build in small positive rituals, like a daily check-in. The key is to be intentional and even have a plan for what to do when those old, not-so-great habits pop up again, because they will. And really, that's what this is all about. This whole approach isn't a one-time fix, it's a completely different mindset. It's seeing our relationships not as something that's either good or bad, but as living things that are always in a process of growing and changing. So let's bring it all back to you right now. Forget about some giant stressful overhaul. Thinking about everything we just talked about, what is one tiny, almost effortless little change you could make today to start this process of continuous improvement in one of your relationships?
Start small. Grow strong. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You just need to take one small, intentional step. And today, that step is right in front of you. Begin your journey to becoming 1% better every day with the Relationship Growth Guide from the 1% Edge collection, a simple yet powerful resource designed to help you build deeper connection, emotional strength, and lasting love. At the 1% Edge, we believe that real transformation comes from steady momentum, not massive leaps. Whether you're working on emotional healing, strengthening your relationship, financial growth, or improving communication, our guides are built on the timeless principle of Kaizen. You don't need to change everything. You just need to begin. Ready to take that first step? Your copy of the Relationship Growth Guide is just a click away. Get started now. Download below.